Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. If you're new here, every Sunday I do my mise en place for the week. And today that will be cutting all my vegetables, making a butternut squash soup, and I'm gonna make some pork belly and some stock. So I'm just cutting up some onion. This yellow onion is for my butternut squash soup. So we'll go over the menu. So for lunch today, I'm gonna have some sandwiches with some ham and some cheese, because I usually have sandwiches on Sunday. And then for dinner, I'm gonna make some zuurkoolstampot. Stampot is a Dutch dish consisting of potatoes mashed with a vegetable, and zuurkool is sauerkraut. So, and then I'm just gonna have some pork with that, I think. And I'm also going to make some coleslaw, by the way. That's why I am cutting this red onion nice and fine. So for Meatless Monday, for lunch, I'm going to have my butternut squash soup. And for dinner, I'm going to have a vegan chili. So I'll cut up plenty of vegetables for that. I'm just going to do some beans, which are already in a tomato sauce. And then for Tuesday, I'm gonna have my coleslaw with some chicken. And then for dinner, Taco Tuesday, I'm gonna have some pork belly tacos. So that's one of the things I'm gonna use my pork belly for. So this red onion that I diced up nice and fine, I'm going to put in this bigger container because that's where I'm going to make my red cabbage coleslaw. So, in case you haven't caught on with my menu, I have low-carb lunches and regular dinners because I am diabetic. So I had to cut carbs. I've gone over this millions of times. So I just basically cut my carbs in half because I don't eat breakfast. So I just do low-carb, keto-friendly lunches and then regular dinners. Except on the weekend when I have my cheat days. That's why I'm having my sandwiches, because I do miss sandwiches. So, and this onion is going to be for the chili, among other things, and a stir fry and things like that. So, then we're on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'm going to do a stir fry. And to keep it low-carb, I'm going to use some broccoli. I saved some broccoli stems, so I'm just going to cut them up nice and fine and use those in place of something like rice or noodles. And I'll just do that with some chicken. And then for dinner, I'm going to do a chicken curry with some rice. I still have some curry paste that I made last week, so I'll use that. And then on Thursday, I'm going to have more coleslaw. In this case, with some pork belly. I might do some skewers, or I haven't decided yet how I'm exactly going to do the pork belly. And then for dinner, I'm going to have some ramen with some pork belly. So the braising liquid I used for the pork belly, I'm going to turn that into a nice broth for my ramen, so I'll add some miso paste, things like that. Right now, I'm cutting up some leek to go in my soup and or stock, and also to go in the stir fry. So that is Thursday done. Actually, with the ramen, I'm also going to use up some green beans that I still had. So those needed to be used. Usually I put something like edamame on the side or something like that, but green beans work just fine. And then Friday for lunch, I'm going to have some tuna salad with some low-carb crackers. And then for dinner, I'm gonna do like a rice bowl or an oat bowl or something like that with some salmon. So I have some garlic here. The smaller cloves I'm gonna leave whole because those are gonna go in the soup and in the stock. So I don't need to cut those up. And then the other ones I'll just cut for my chili and for the stir fry. So I'll just slice them and then quickly run my knife through. They don't need to be super fine. Okay, that's garlic out of the way. Then what next? Here I have my green beans. I'll just top and tail those. Next up, some peppers. So let's just cut it in half. Take out the seeds. And these are gonna go in my chili and my stir fry, things like that. So I just have a couple of colors. Some red, some orange, some green. So I'll clean them all out. And I don't need them super fine, so I'm just going to cut them into little ribbons by cutting them across. Oh yeah, if you have any suggestions for some meals for Halloween, some themed meals, that would be great. Because all I ever think of is like at Lidl here, they often sell pasta in Halloween shapes around Halloween. But I've done that several years in a row now, so I want to do something else. So yeah, leave any suggestions below. Next up, I have a couple of chilies. These are going to go in the chili and in the stir fry. And exact same thing as the peppers. I'm just going to cut the ends off, clean them out, and slice them into little slices. Like I said, I'll just cut them into little ribbons. And next up, I have some cherry tomatoes. Those are left over from last week, so I'm just going to use those up in my chili. The beans already come in a tomatoey sauce, but nothing wrong with adding a bit fresh. And these need to be used up anyway, so might as well make use of them. So I'm just going to cut these in half so they break down quicker. And then here I have a potato that's going to be for the stumple tonight with the sauerkraut. So I'll just quickly peel that and I'll just cut that into chunks. And then we have some carrots. I have one big one, two smaller ones. The smaller ones I'm going to use for my stir fry, so I'll just give that a quick peel. Take the tips off, and I'll just cut these into little medallions. And then this bigger one, I'm not gonna bother peeling because this is gonna go in my butternut squash soup and in my stock. So just cut them into big-ish chunks. And I'll put that in a bigger container with other things I will need for the soup. Like this celery. Just cut the ends off and cut these into rough chunks as well. And in they go. Next up, let's do some cilantro, because with my chili I'm going to do some lime cilantro rice. Saving the stems as always for things like curry paste. Roll this up nice and tight. And cut it down. And then run my knife through to get it nice and fine. Then next up, let's do some broccoli. So these are just broccoli stems that I saved. Cut the very end off because those are quite dry. If there's any like leaves or little eyes, take those off as well. And I'll just cut them in half and then in quarters. And I will cut these nice and fine. And this is a really good way to use up bits you might otherwise throw away because they're really tasty and there's a lot of nutrition in them. So why would you waste them? These stems are also really good to make things like broccoli rice, which is essentially what I'm doing now, except that you make it even finer. Or sometimes I turn broccoli rice into wraps made out of broccoli or cauliflower and some cheese and egg. But right now I just wanted to stir fry. Next up, some cabbage. I'm using red cabbage, but you could absolutely use any other kind of cabbage. I just like having the red one just for color, really. So I'm going to cut them in quarters, cut the little base off, and then basically I'm just going to shave these as fine as I possibly can. And then I almost forgot, I do need some carrot for the coleslaw as well. So I have my julienne slicer here, and I'm just going to slice that right in. And there we have everything for the coleslaw. I'll just finish that off in a minute, because right now I have some mushrooms. So a couple of these I will cut nice and fine for some garnish for my ramen. So just have some of these cremini mushrooms, and I don't know what these are called. Oyster? I think they are. So I'll just do a couple just for garnish, really. But these are just going to go in the stock for flavoring. I just want to make sure there's no like sand. last but not least, we have our butternut squash. So I'm just gonna cut that down. I'm just gonna peel that. And when it's cut in half like this, it's just a lot more stable and easier to peel. And then this bottom half, I'll just cut in half. Grab a spoon and take the seeds out. You can save the seeds, but I don't really use them, so. And I'll just cut this into chunks. I will puree this soup, so it doesn't need to be too fine, but it just cooks a lot quicker. And then the top half, I'm also gonna cut in half. Really cut that again. Cut it that way. And just cut that into little chunks as well. All right, and then we're gonna start making our soup. So I'm gonna preheat my Ninja Foodi on saute, and I'll do the other one as well. I'll add a bit of oil to both. And now that these are nice and hot, in each I'm gonna put about half of the celery and half of the carrot. A couple of cloves of garlic in each. And for the pumpkin soup or squash soup, I'll do my white onions. And for the pork belly, I'm gonna do the white part of the leek. And I'll just save the rest of the leek for the stir fry. And to the butternut squash soup, I'll also add some chilies. And to the pork belly stock, I'll add my mushrooms. Add a pinch of salt to both to help cook down. And while that softens, I'll quickly make my coleslaw. So for that, pinch of salt. Bit of pepper. I'm using pre-ground just because I don't want the chunks in my coleslaw. Some mustard. And some mayo. I'll quickly mix that up. I'm going to add a little bit more mayo, but I'm going to be conservative because the salt is going to draw out a lot of moisture. So it's going to get a lot wetter, so I don't want to overdo it. And this looks about right to me, so I'll have a little taste. Yep, that is done. I'll add my squash to the squash soup. And I'll let that soften a bit as well. And meanwhile, I'll just prep my pork belly. I'm just gonna cut diagonal cuts across the fat and the skin. So, because the skin gets really crispy. So I want to be able to cut it later. And I also want the fat to kind of render out a bit. So I'm just going to cut through that top layer. And now that my vegetables have softened, I will add my pork belly skin side down to the stock. Mostly cover that with water. And I'll add water to the butternut squash soup as well. Put my pressure lid on. You can absolutely slow cook this, but I have pressure cookers, so why not? Valve close, high. Let's do about 50 minutes. And the same for this. It's about 40 to 50 minutes for this hunk of meat. So do that as well. So yeah, now I just need to wait for that. So in the meantime, I will clean up a bit and I'll see you when all of that is done. Alright, the Ninja Foodies did their thing. So I took my pork belly out. When it's time to use that, I'm just gonna cut a piece off, air fry that, to get it nice and crispy and slice it into slices. And then I strained off the stock. I'm going to use that as a base for my ramen. So here I have my pumpkin soup, or butternut squash soup, and I'm just going to blitz that up. And there we go. That is way too much for one portion of soup, I know, but I'm going to freeze part of this, and next week I'm going to have like a squash risotto, so I'm going to use that as the base. So that was my prep work for the week. So now I can have lunch or dinner on the table in minutes. I'm also going to film starting today of what I eat in a day for the whole week, so you can see what I do with all the things that I prepped. So that should be coming out probably Friday, maybe on the weekend. We'll just see when I have time to edit that. But yeah, if you like this, I do this every single Sunday, and then every Saturday I do grocery hauls, things like that. So yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.